Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to FM23 Youth Factory. This is episode number 3. This is the last one in the initial algorithm super important stage. So if you can, take just a second, drop below, click that like button, leave that comment so that we can knock that out of the park and then just get on with the series from here on out. We start today's episode with shocking, absolutely stunning news. Our team of current ability 1s down in the 11th tier apparently are capable of getting results. Tactically alone, it's overcoming some other really weak teams as well. As bad as we are, other teams are also really bad. And with good tactics, apparently it's becoming enough, because we came close in that opening match of the season. We weren't massively outplayed. We lost 2-1. And then against a reserve squad in our second match, getting outplayed. Our goalkeeper had a phenomenal match. Fullwood, an 8.1 rating to make the stops necessary and keep the clean sheet when we were out XG'd. We did not even have a 1 in XG, and yet pulled off a shocking upset to win 2-0 and get the club's first win. Now, I expected us to have a win somewhere along the way prior to our first intake. I figured we'd be capable, that the tactics would carry us through. But I was surprised to find it so early and on the road. And then we come into our second match and are outplayed again. We get what looks like a game winner in the 86th minute after a really poor performance. And then they equalize in stoppage time, finally stepping up, and when they decide that they want to be aggressive and attack, they easily take it. But again, it's against a reserve side. At this point, this low down the table, your reserve players are going to largely be grayed out and non-quality. You're not going to have very many players there. They're going to be very weak compared to your senior squad. So I can see, okay, fine, some reserves are going to be really poor and are beatable. But then our fourth match of the season, again at home, and okay, this was the first time I hadn't seen this particular aspect of it. This was the first time where we had more XG than our opponent on the season. It was the first time where we weren't completely outplayed. But this makes so much sense to me. Maidment is sent off in the 18th minute, very early in the match. We get 2 breakthrough goals before halftime to be comfortable. We get a penalty. They get a consolation goal. Our XG was only slightly ahead of theirs. Why? Because it was 11v10 for most of the game. And most of our XG, 0.8 of that should have come on that penalty. We were lucky to get the other 2 goals, and we really only put things together because we had, okay, I get it now. I get it. I was really shocked by this result when I looked through in the emails. I went on vacation for the month, so I did not play any of these out. This was a real surprise, but it makes total sense when it was 11v10 for almost the entirety of the match. And then it makes even more sense when they gave up that penalty just beyond the hour mark, because that was almost 2/3 of the total XG we amassed for the match. They had more than 1 XG. We just happened to have about 1.5, about 1.4. Okay, well, there you have it. We've had 7 points in our first 4 matches. Finishing last may not be a foregone conclusion. We're also about to turn the month beyond September, and we've had some good 3 home matches with large crowds. I'm guessing if we hop on over to the finances, they're looking pretty dang good right now. 181K. Finance is still considered okay. We've been on the job for a month. We are having success. We're supposed to be last place. I wouldn't be surprised if the board is quite pleased with us at the moment with this fantastic start that we've had. and therefore we're going to try again and see if we can't get our training facilities upgraded here while the getting's good. Turns out that it's too soon. We can't ask yet. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer. So we'll go forward and try again next month. Just to check, the entire squad is still a current ability of 1. None of them have progressed at all. So we are still playing with these guys, and they're getting the appearances. Mostly. That's, you got, 6 players that have played in every match. You got another 3 that have started 3. So there's your 9. And then, 10, 11. So no, there's not some random grayed out players that are coming in and playing better. Selection has been entirely from the senior squad, and the 2 players that haven't been selected are your backup goalkeeper and your still recovering injured striker. But so far, average rating, you got 4 guys with over a 7. We've got 4 goals from Mark Harvey, the striker, with a .78 XG. 4 goals on an XG of less than 1. We've been fortunate, folks. We've been very fortunate so far. To put one more piece of this in perspective before we move forward, Mark Harvey, his shots per 90, which we've played 4 matches, and I believe he's played the entirety of the 4, or just about 1.26 shots per 90. Just 56% of his shots have been on target. Yet he has 4 goals. He is averaging 5. He's got 5 shots on the season. I mean, clearly he's the one who scored the penalty. So one of those doesn't even count as a shot. So there's 1 goal. That means 3 goals on 5 shots. 3 goals on 5 shots. How has he even managed to do that? That's crazy. 3 goals on 5 shots with what looks like 3 goals on target. 3 shots on target. He's put every single shot that he's had on frame in the back of the net. No wonder he's well above his XG, and no wonder we've had some surprise results. Holy cow. The month of October brought more shocking results, but still a little more what you would expect. 3 losses out of 5, 4 points total out of 5. It's a little closer to where you would think our team belongs. But here, it's again coming down to, a number of kind of key moments. For one, this was a match that we completely outplayed Redruth United. Mark Harvey, again, on a brace, getting 2 more goals. So his really, really awesome form. That gave him 6 goals after just 5 matches into the season, which is just insane. And then things started to get a little hairy. St. Agnes was not a good team, and yet they crushed us 3-0. But then there's Truro, and Truro is legit. We'll see where they're at in the standings here in just a moment. But they beat us handily. We still managed to score 2 goals against, okay, fine, it's Truro reserves, but they are so many divisions above us. You'd figure that, unlike some of the other clubs, they're going to have some quality down in their reserve squad. They are heavy favorites to win the league. Now, clearly against the run of form, as Hallam and Latore were the only ones who really had a decent go on the day. So getting those 2 goals didn't amount to much, and actually they, for a time, put us level. I mean, we leveled twice. It was 1-0, we leveled. It was 2-1, we leveled again before they went and took total control when they decided to go on the attack. And that's the thing. Tactically, so many of these teams are very, very poorly coached, and it's showing up. My team technically isn't coached at all. I'm the only coach on the staff. Actually, we do have a U18's assistant coach now that was hired automatically, even though I don't have a GM. We have an invisible GM who hired a U18's coach, but if I'm going on vacation, who's coaching the team? It's the captain, right? It's the captain showing up and just running things himself. Apparently they're a decent one as a captain. But this was against the second place side in the league, and we lost a close one. It was a penalty, and we lost 1-0. But you can see just how poor we played. It was just that Wrigley in goal this time had a decent showing and kept us in it outside of giving up a penalty. He kept a clean sheet otherwise. And then a reserve squad. Reserve squads seem to be where our chances are a bit better. This was one of those rare opportunities where we were fully in control of the match. We didn't have a 4 in XG, but we were quite good. 1.7 was the XG we ended up for the day. The opener in the 23rd minute there with Harvey coming through. I mean, how are we outrunning these guys? Demira, I don't understand how we could beat anyone for pace. Here's Buckley going for it. He crosses. Demira takes a touch, pushes it past the keeper, and then puts it in. That's a really nice goal. Does not make sense for what the attributes are as King cuts inside on that one and comes across to the far post, curls it in. Those were nice goals. Those weren't cheap, lucky gimmies. Those were nice goals. How we managed to do that, I don't know. Has the team improved? On the surface, they most certainly have not. Musaberi continues to train better than anybody else out there. He's only had 2 starts, 3 appearances off the bench, has a decent rating of 6.85, and he's still just 6s. So he hasn't improved. They haven't improved. How we are pulling this off has got to be coming down to tactics more than anything else. But just watching those goals, it doesn't seem to match up with the actual quality that we have. You can see Houston is struggling, but he's still 6s. He's lost a point in marking and tackling, training so poorly. But otherwise, and he's only had 1 start and 2 appearances off the bench. I can see why he's dropping a little bit. He's not getting game time. Hewitson is. A few more losses a little bit further into the season, yet we still have a couple of players, Hallam in particular, and Demira, that are exceeding a 7 in their rating. Most of the guys are very average, and really only one, well, okay, let's chalk it up to 4 or 5 players have been quite poor. And that's Woolley, who's only had 1 appearance. That's Hewitson, who hasn't scored and has only had a few appearances with just 1 start. But even he has 0.62 on XG. In fact, look at all that XG that we have. Harvey, now with 7 goals. He's only grabbed 1 more goal in the last 4 matches and 1 assist finally. But his XG, it's grown quite a bit, but it's still only 4.3. But Demira has nearly 2 key passes per 90. The chances created per 90. First regular in the lineup is Demira, hence the high rating for him. That makes sense that he's creating the most chances, about 1 per 90. We're not overly creative. We just seem to be executing on the finishing, which is odd considering how bad our finishing has been. These results are definitely surprising, but when you start looking kind of at key details, the guys are playing okay. They're not creating much, but they have been clinical. They have been taking care. They have been finishing well with given chances. I think part of that is we are certainly up against weak goalkeepers who just can't seem to make stops. So just getting something on target is resulting in a fair number of goals for us. And how we're keeping other teams at bay it's got to be something to do with our formation and our tactics, just keeping us in games, because we saw in preseason just how easily a ball over the top can beat our defense as there's no pace. Hallam, our most highly rated player on the season so far, center back. How is 6s and 6s and 3 in bravery? I mean, how is that somebody who's winning tackles and getting back and not getting beat easily again and again and again, unless the other teams are really that poor? Hale actually now lead. That was the other team. They were second. That's the one who beat us 1-0 with the penalty. And Spur Reserves haven't lost. Those are the only two that have not lost a match yet. It's not like we're doing amazing things here with 11 points, but we're not last. We're not winless. Redruth is actually... that was the team we just beat 4-0, so turns out that they're the worst. Porthleven we've had a win against, so I suppose it's a little bit telling that some of the weakest sides are the teams that we've actually outplayed. But if we're looking at Redruth United, see that their finances are okay, but otherwise they're poor. They've got 8,000 for a balance. That's all. It's not much. But they do have actual players. Rivers, an attacking, either mid or attacking wing player, has had 7 starts, 0.64 XG, 6.5 rating for a team that hasn't won a match. You would think that's probably an average player on this squad. Let's see just how bad is he. Current ability is 9. So an average player on the weakest team is still better than what we have, but he only has a single 10 outside of natural fitness, and that's his first touch. Compared to my guys, he's 4s, 5s, 6s, which of course we've got lots of 6s. And then he's got 7s, 9s, 10s. As an attacking player, kind of key attributes for him, he's got just a tiny bit more acceleration. And maybe that's why we're somehow hanging in there, right? His pace is a 7. Oh, my guys have a 6. No wonder they're not getting beat so easily. He's got a 9 for aggression, but what's that going to do for him? He's got a 9 for teamwork. He's got a 9 for vision. As an attacking mid, that's a little bit better, but I've got 6s. But I've got guys with finishing of 6. His is an 8. It's not like he's going to finish so much better. So I do think that we are in a league that just happens to be almost as bad as we are player ability wise. And then we're facing teams that are poorly coached, poorly managed, and are pulling formations that are simple, and ours is more complex, and we've trained them up in it, so they know how to play it. So we are just beating simple tactics with players that aren't good, but against players that aren't good. They're not equally bad, but they are just about bad enough that they don't have a significant advantage over us. So we're hanging in there, and we're getting a few results here and there. It's unexpected. But now that it's been a couple months, we've got enough time under our belt, and we are way beyond what's expected. The board's pretty happy with how things are going right now, and therefore we can try again on the improved training facilities. This time around, I think we might just get it, especially when those finances continue to get better now at $250,000. We're denied, and their reason is not only are we underperforming, even though we were picked to finish last and we're mid-table, we're overperforming. But, and this part I do agree with, we're on our worst run of form to date, as in we lost 3 matches before we just won one. Request denied. But that's a peculiar one because we're not underperforming. Let's try to discuss this one with the board. It certainly doesn't hurt. It could help level up our determination a little bit. Their response was identical to the original response and have denied us and shut us down without even further discussion. So it looks like we're going to need a little bit better form to get things going. I know a youth intake will certainly do that, but if we have a good month, then we'll be in shape to ask that again. But we're going to have to wait a couple months before we can even do that. And therefore, I think we're going to be pushing all the way till January for our next check-in. Our anchor, Ken Lee, with 14 starts under his belt, is the first player to hit a current ability of 2. Here's the progress. He's growing. He's clearly making progress kind of across the board in the decimal, beyond the decimal department. But in terms of actual attribute increases, his jumping reach has jumped to an 8. His penalty taking has improved to a 7. That's it. That's all it took to get a 2. But you can see behind the scenes there's a lot of improvement somewhere between that range of a 6 to a 7 on very many attributes. It's a -8 goal differential, so it really shows the weaknesses that we do have, and yet we're still managing to be right about mid-table, 8th place on 20 points. If we win against Porthleven, which is our next match, but it's on the road, and they're only 4 points behind us, so Redruth is the only one who is really poor. But if we can beat Porthleven in the next one, it would be 3 straight wins, and it'll be time as we enter January to ask again about the trading facilities. And we kick off in the rain here on the road. Can we get a result against that 13th place team out of a 14 team league? I like our odds on that part. The media, they definitely don't like our odds. Despite the form that we have had over the season, we are still heavy favorites to be last place. In fact, our odds to win this match are 20-1. Odds that are such, that go against the results that we have seen, that you'd think that it'd be worth it to, bet on this team. You'd make some money over the course of the season with those type of odds, as we've bagged plenty of points. Onchar, there's Lee, our star player with a current ability of 2. Kamara, back inside to Lee. Lee finds some space, finds Barry, he turns, finds Kamara. Down the side for Salmon, that's onside. That's a good shot, but that's also a good save. And kept out well enough that it goes for the throw instead of the corner. And we score! And it's Lee! The hero, Ken Lee! Like taking candy from a baby as he does the baby rocker there. Barry just onside as they were holding really deep, but Lee in space takes a touch, brings it down to his left, and bangs it off the post and in. 0.25 on the XG, but a goal on the scoreboard. Kamara already on a yellow. Harvey makes it too! And no flag. That flag stays down. Was he onside or not? Have to watch from the replay. He's making his run early. He retreats. No, that's not him. Let's see, where are we at? Oh, easily onside. Yeah, not even close. Just great ball into some space there. And Harvey gets it on target. And that's what I was saying. There wasn't much power in that. A good keeper is going to save that. But this league doesn't have very many good keepers. One of the reasons why you see high score lines, it's not necessarily that you've got good finishers. It's just you've got poor defense, you've got poor goalkeepers, and it makes games a bit more wide open. Lee with a fantastic interception there. Harvey, chance on the through ball, but he sends the retreating ball. We win. We intercept and give it right back to the guy who had made that bad pass. 2-0, 23 minutes played. Lee tries to intercept, can't get to that one. We definitely have an issue with Kamara, potentially Lloyd. Flag stays down. Was he onside? He was very much in front of the defender who was marking him, but was he in front of the rest of the defensive line? He's behind us. He retreats. He gets on. So he was behind us, but he retreats just inside, gets on, and you can see from Fullwood there how poor the goalkeeping is, as Fullwood drops to his knees and doesn't even raise an arm in time, and he is just onside here. Kamara with the long ball. That would have been offside. That's why nobody chased it down. Keeper Mitchell intercepts. Play goes the other way. Is it their highlight? No. Lonchar is going to get there. He's going to keep it in, keep possession. Kamara with another long ball to no one, and Harvey just can't chase that one down. Can't compete for it. Good press to push him back, but there's a good speed from their man to get behind us. He's got some decent pace to him compared to some of the other players around. Lloyd! Oof. Scrapes the net, but it's on the outside, not the inside. No goal. It stays 2-1. Lee, our hero, to Buckley. Buckley turns in. Finds some space. Gets that left foot. Whips it across. Curls it in a little bit, but not enough. Can't get enough bend on it. 5-5 on the shots. Behind on the XG. Head on the scoreline. Approaching halftime. Another ball in. Dangerous one, but they cleared out. Lonchar finds Tumwall, who's also on a yellow now. And that is both of our right side of our defense on yellows. It's the left side of our defense that seems to be having problems, though. but they've got both better ratings. Well, not now. Tumwa just jumped to a 7. I suppose similar ratings, but they're the ones that seem to be having trouble. They're the ones on a yellow. One thing I've not utilized with this first group is the ability to have the talk with them after a poor performance to improve their determination or work rate. Buckley, nice move there. What's going on? Gibbons. That looked clean. That looked really clean, and it's a straight red. This must have been studs up. That must have been a studs up. Dangerous play. And otherwise, I don't see how in the world that would be a red card. In fact, it didn't even look like a foul, but maybe we jumped out of the way of something crazy dangerous. We're going to stay balanced with our 1-goal lead and with an extra man now. That long ball straight to the keeper. Way too easy for him. Can't win that header. It's through. It's a chance, but luckily just a little bit too long. Otherwise, we very much would have had an equalizer. I need to be looking at what these guys are running formation-wise right now. I'd like to see. Ooh, they go close, but we make the save. Fullwood. And then they dribble out. Wait. What are we looking at here? 3-3-2-1. So they are very defensive right now. And therefore, we're going to kind of hold on to what we've got. We're not going to create much like this, but it's going to make it harder for them to get forward. Tumwa. Ball in. Salmon wins that header. Free header. His near post was wide open. He went back to his far post. Near post on the original cross. Long ball over the top for Buckley. That's a nice one, and Buckley controls it well. Tumwa gets some space. Finds Barry inside. He's got... Oh, deflected by Salmon. Salmon gets a foot on that one. That was going to be an easy save for the keeper, but Salmon redirects it and gets what's probably a game winner right there, 3-1, or at least the one that seals it. I thought for sure we had the man right inside for a good close-range shot, but Lee takes the long shot, and Salmon just puts it the other direction just a little bit. Okay. Lays it off. Lee in some space. Lee is finding so much space right now, and he has been very good. Very good for us in that space. Murphy over the top, and that does it. Ball's in the back of the net, but of course, it's after the whistle. It doesn't count. They were walking away anyway. 3-1 victors. XG only slightly ahead. We were certainly fortunate on at least one of those 2 first goals. The second one in particular, 0.02 XG. That should not have been a goal, but it was a nice header. Nice header from Harvey. We're going to celebrate the new year in 7th place with 23 points from 17 matches played. It's close. I mean, even Porthleven, who we just beat, have 16. They're not that far behind. Farther than they were a moment ago. It's not a 4-point difference now. It's 7. But even Mullion reserves are just a win behind us. In front of us, it starts to stretch out a little bit further. Truro reserves have moved ahead. Hale have slipped to 3rd now. Falmouth Town reserves are the other team near the top of the league. We have a negative goal differential. We are not good. The quality is not there. However, as we've seen from looking at some of the other rosters, there are plenty of players in this league that have a current ability of 10 or below. Probably a vast majority, which means the difference between, and you saw it with Ken Lee, he improved to a current ability of 2 with a total of 3 attribute points improved. That's it. So we're not talking about any significant difference between a 1 or a 2 or a 10. So we've got some pretty weak opposition here in the league, and we are clearly playing with some better tactical scenarios. Ken Lee found tons of space before the red card and especially after the red card, but other teams just can't seem to counter the space. My simple understanding or explanation narrative that would explain that is due to the worst coaching available, because we're down in the 11th tier. People that just don't know better. And I can speak from experience on this matter. So years ago. This is more than a decade ago now. I was teaching overseas on the island of Saipan. I was, at the same time, for the local football league. I had a coaching license that I bagged in Japan. I was coaching the local club who had a senior squad on down to U18 boys, their U15 boys, U15 girls, and on down into the youngest, 5-6-year-old ranks. I was the technical director for the club as a whole. I was coaching the U18 boys and the U15 girls at the same time. My U15 girls, by the way, we won 3 championships in a row. The U18 boys didn't exist until I started the team. The area of Island that our club recruited from was an area that, outside of basketball and baseball, was new to the sport of football, aka soccer. As a whole on the island, it was still a relatively new thing. We started a team from scratch with players who had 0 experience. Those same players, I, as a high school history teacher, was also at the same time coaching the girls and the boys soccer teams and the baseball team and the basketball teams. Overlapping seasons, I was literally having teams practice together, but a lot of my teams overlapped with each other. The same boys that I recruited to be our U18 were also recruited to get a little extra experience, catch up a little bit, and they were also the high school boys team. Almost every single one of them. I had a couple that were outside of that. That was it. But anyway, that group had 0 experience at the start of the season. By the end of the high school season, we played in the final for the championship. We surprised the heck out of a team that was much more experienced than us, that had crushed us at the start of the year in league, where we were losing games 6-0, 8-0, 6-1, 5-2. Like we got better and better, but we were clearly weaker. During the regular season, they had beat us. We did enough to get the last seed in the playoffs. It was just top 4 anyway. Actually, we weren't last. We were 3rd, because we had to get past the second place team to play in the championship against the league favorite. In that championship game, I went crazy with tactics. I played a Christmas tree formation, a 4-3-2-1 or a 4-3-3. Made sure that we were going to keep possession in the offensive half. I put my defenders, my best defenders, as my row of defensive mids, and told them to go win the ball back, be aggressive, play the center backs or play the strikers if they're deep, play the midfielders if you need to, but be aggressive and win the ball back. I had 3 attacking players. I had 7 defenders. The 4 defenders at the back were the weaker, least experienced players, but had pace. And their job was, if a ball was sent over the top, chase like hell. We led 1-0 at halftime. The other team was so shocked by the system, the way we came out and played, the way we got on the front foot. The entire game was being played in their half. And any ball that was cleared out, we got to it first and then sent it long into the other half. And my 3 attacking players, one of which was absolutely that super athletic kid that had never touched a soccer ball before, but suddenly was like, oh, I get this. I understand this. And oh man, we shocked him. We led 1-0. Eventually in the second half, they figured it out. They countered, and their skill, their knowledge, their experience came through. They changed their formation. They adapted, and they beat us 2-1. So we didn't win the championship, but it was this team. It was my current ability ones, and the tactics did carry through, almost. And that's the thing. A good coach is going to make adjustments, and we were up against the team that knew what they were doing. Their coach, it took them a little bit longer to figure it out and make changes. Halftime was where they really pulled that together. For us, there wasn't any more bags in the trick, and I talked to my guys at halftime about going, hey, they're going to adjust to this. Do we want to stick with it? It's going to be harder in the second half. Or do we want to change tactics and try something different? And I had a plan B, but they wanted to stick with the plan A. They were happy with how things were going. They were confident over that. They understood that it was going to get harder, and we almost pulled it out. I mean, the equalizer took about 15 minutes, but the go-ahead goal was in the final few minutes of the game, and we were still, we had some shots here and there. Anyway. I just feel like this is what's happening with our team. This is exactly what's happening with our team. We might be those beginners, but the quality of those around us is still not good. It's still really bad. It's still really poor. A 10 is awful. So is a 1. And a 1 is worse. But the tactics are carrying us through. I'm going to be asking for those facility upgrades, but that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.